So, former Deputy Chairperson of the DNA Board, Dr. Vanessa Lynch, has sounded a warning that the delay in implementing the DNA bill has led to the release of thousands of prisoners since 2017 without their samples being taken. Dr. Lynch, who is the DNA Project founder, joins us now for further on this. Thank you very much, Dr. Lynch, for availing yourself this afternoon. So, there are two pieces of legislation that we are dealing with when it comes to this. Please give us some clarity on it.
Hi, thank you for having me on your show. Yes, the legislation that was passed in January was making it mandatory for all Schedule 8 arrestees to be DNA sampled. And this particular bill that's before Parliament today and hopefully next week is to make it mandatory for all convicted offenders to be sampled prior to their release.
And what has led to the delay?
The delay over the last 4 years has been fairly controversial. The Minister of Police wanted to have a population database of all citizens of South Africa. This was shown to be unconstitutional, as well as the capacity issue. We already have a huge backlog. So he eventually signed the bill. It's now before the Portfolio Committee, and they expect to vote it in next Wednesday. And we should be seeing that before the National Assembly at least by April. So this is really good progress, albeit it's taken a long time to get here.
As a consequence, you speak of prisoners having been released without their samples being taken and going out and committing crimes again. Do we know just how many offenders have been released?
Well, according to the Minister of Correctional Services in June last year, 96,800 prisoners at that stage had been released between 2016 and 2021. So that just gives you an indication of how many lost opportunities there were, especially since we have a very high rate of recidivism in South Africa. The reoffending rate is one of the highest in the world, and many of those prisoners would have gone back to crime, and we lost the opportunity to sample them. So that is a great loss, unfortunately.
Just a reminder, in terms of Schedule 8 crimes, what we're talking about, is it just rape?
No, not at all. It's actually a very wide range of offences, ranging from very violent crimes, murder, rape, right down to robbery. So whilst it would be great to have all offences, just because it's an administrative burden, there certainly are most of the violent criminals and most of the criminals do fall under Schedule 8. So there was a call in Parliament, funny enough, that you say that just said, let's just make it all offences. And I do think they probably are going to move towards that in the next amendment.
Of these over 90,000 prisoners that have been released, what does this mean for the victims? Justice denied?
Well, unfortunately, there's a combination of things. We have a DNA backlog which delays justice, and we've just seen this recent horrific case where a 16-year-old girl was raped and murdered. And this is because the perpetrator was identified previously as being a rapist. They took his DNA, but the analysis wasn't back, and they released him. If he had been identified as a rapist back then, he wouldn't have been released, and that young girl would not have lost her life. So that is the same play with convicted offenders. If we can identify them before being released as being repeat offenders or linking them to other crimes, they won't be released, and thereby we'll actually save people's lives. So the combination needs to be addressed, and it's something that the government needs to look at and take very seriously.
You speak of taking this seriously. From your interactions with the relevant authorities, do you perceive that it is being taken seriously? It's Ms. Tina Jamat-Peterson, I believe it is, that says we only have one opportunity to get it right, and we will get it right.
Absolutely. The Portfolio Committee, their hands have been tied because they can only deliberate on the bill once it's before them. As soon as it was before them, they really did take the next step, and they've urgently looked at it. I think the authorities, the police department, have given enough funding now to the forensic science laboratories, but we still have a capacity issue. We need to look more at private-public partnerships. We need additional capacity to get through this backlog. They have given a zero date by November, but as many of the 200,000 that are already in backlog, there are already more coming in, and with these bills in progress, there will be even more reference samples. So hopefully the government will continue to support the forensic science laboratories with funding and fulfilling contracts, and look to university laboratories, other laboratories that are waiting in the wings. They want to get involved in order to assist with capacity.
Thank you very much for helping us make sense of all of that. Dr. Vanessa Lynch is with the DNA Project, and she's the founder there.